Super Mario Odyssey released in 2017 is perhaps the most critically acclaimed 3D Mario of all time. At the time, it was highly touted as an instant classic, and a standard for which all future 3D platformers would be held against. 8 years later, that standard would be tested by the same developers, but this time they would draw inspiration from Donkey Kong, a character trapped in the 2D world for over 25 years, and bring him back to the limelight in a 3D platforming adventure unlike anything we've ever seen. In today's episode of Head to Head, these two titans of modern 3D platformers will be battling for new Donk Supremacy in the title of Head to Head Champion. With that said, let's get straight into it.
Objection!
Well, hold up, Mac. I'm here today defending Donkey Kong Bananza and making sure you don't rig this head-to-head for Odyssey. Bananza is unlike anything we've seen before, completely reimagining Donkey Kong as we know him, with a bold new character design and a new gimmick in its gameplay that allows you to destroy any and everything in your sight. This is a game that has high peaks, great moments, and plot twists that you could never see coming, while also giving you the ability to turn your brain off and destroy a mountain while finding gold in the process. There are so many new additions that make Bananza great, but at its core, it still feels like a Donkey Kong game. It's an incredible experience from start to finish, and Bananza is the best game of 2025 by far.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, PJ, but Odyssey is just the better game in every way. If we're talking gimmicks, you can't deny Cappy is the best change they've implemented since the invention of Mario's original 3D moveset on the N64. The capture mechanic is insane, but regardless of that, the cap jumps so effortlessly build on top of Mario's already perfected moveset. The level design of the kingdoms is at an all-time high, platforming is as unique as ever, and the vastness of the world is something we haven't seen in a platformer before or since. I love Bananza, but Odyssey is just easily the better game.
Listen, man, we can't have a massive debate before we even get into the video. How about you make your case later and just tell them the rules of this already?
Alright, so this is how it's going to go down. We've both agreed on 10 different categories in which to compare these two games. Each round, we will both give our case for why Odyssey or Bananza is better. Debate these points, give rebuttals, and then come to a general consensus for which game succeeded more in each category. After 10 rounds, the game with the most points accumulated will win. Sound fair?
Yup, let's get into it.
Alright. I'm Mac from the Switch Stop.
And I'm PJ from the Switch Stop.
And this is Super Mario Odyssey vs. Donkey Kong Bananza. Let's get into round 1. Movement and Mario go together like peanut butter and jelly. If the Mario series is known for one thing and one thing only, it's that the movement will always be fine-tuned and perfected. However, if any Mario game were to hold the title of Best Movement, it would be Super Mario Odyssey. It is perfection perfected. The movement in this game is what I think of when I think of what Mario should feel like. Some games are too slippery like Sunshine, too slow like Galaxy, or too clunky like 64. But Odyssey is slick, quick, and smooth in all the right ways. However, that's not even scratching the surface of what makes Odyssey's Mario so special. Excluding the first 20 seconds of the game in the Cap Kingdom, Mario is accompanied by this game's companion, Cappy. Cappy takes what is already the best moving Mario to date and blows the doors open into something unimaginable. With just the flick of your wrist, the addition of the Cappy moveset adds another layer of possibility to what Mario can do. The addition of Cappy isn't just fun, it makes me feel smart, accomplishing a challenge in a way unintended by the developers just with the tools at my disposal with Cappy is a feeling unlike much found in other games. However, we can go even deeper. With Cappy, you are able to capture any living and sometimes non-living thing in this game that isn't wearing a hat. 52 unique movesets that allow the player to take control of other creatures and use their abilities to your advantage. Capturing, spoiler alert, Bowser, Yoshi, T-Rex, Goomba, Chainchomp, Pokio, Moai, and so much more offer moveset styles previously inaccessible. Even limiting ones like the Moai are fun as they challenge the player to be without their ability to jump in exchange for other abilities. Great movement isn't just a side effect of Super Mario Odyssey, it is the foundation in which the game is allowed to exist. The game is great specifically because the movement is great.
Donkey Kong isn't exactly known for his movement. I mean, even going back to the Donkey Kong arcade game, you can't even play as him, just Mario. But in Bananza, he gets a huge glow up. Whether it's his signature role in the open world, or even just jumping around underground smashing rocks and dirt, is just so satisfying. Not only that, but DK's moveset as a whole evolves as you unlock all of the Bananzas throughout your playthrough. There are 5, and they're all great in different ways. Kong for destroying harder structures, Zebra for running very fast, Ostrich for flight, Elephant to inhale the terrain around you, and Snake that allows for higher jumps and slowing time. All of these are later enhanced thanks to something that Odyssey doesn't have, a skill tree. Not only can they improve the Bananzas in terms of duration or cooldowns, you can also unlock new movement options along the way. Notably, the Zebra's spin shot, where when you're holding a chunk, you're able to quickly pile drive through the earth, which is so convenient when searching for chests throughout your playthrough. Or even the Elephant's better inhaling or stronger lungs upgrades, which increase the range of terrain you inhale and increase the amount of time you can inhale. Bananzas aren't the only upgrades in the skill tree. Base Donkey Kong gets some love too. Turf surfing, especially when paired with a surf upgrade, allows you to easily traverse through each layer, and it even becomes essential the second you set foot on the resort layer, which is almost entirely water. When holding a chunk, you can double jump with the jump shot, and even get a nice callback with the spin jump, which is just DK's up special from Smash Bros. Canonized into this game. Honestly, just looking at DK, you wouldn't imagine that he's moving around this much and at these speeds, but this moveset definitely gives Odyssey a run for its money. Using some of the capture abilities throughout that game leaves me feeling a bit limited movement-wise, and I feel Mario is just the best capture in the game, period. And with Bananza, the Bananzas add to the game in a multitude of different ways, whether it's challenge room specific, ease of access for more Banandium gems, puzzles, or they're just generally more powerful. But with Odyssey on the other hand, captures are really fun and an amazing concept. However, the reality is they're just circumstantial.
It's interesting you say that about captures because while I agree at most times in Odyssey it is most beneficial to just be Mario, that's also Odyssey's greatest strength. You claim having a skill tree is a positive, but from my perspective, I feel as though it's holding Bananza back. I stated earlier that in Odyssey, you have the reins to Mario's entire moveset in the first 15 seconds of the game. However, to even get to the point of reaching Donkey Kong's full base moveset, you need 749 Banandium gems, a feat that basically takes the entirety of the game to accomplish. You could say that's part of the game's progression, but how is it that Odyssey built a game that progressively gets harder alongside the player? It did so by creating challenges that push the player externally rather than internally.
I get where you're coming from, but my problem with Odyssey's moveset seems to be your exact defense. There is no meaningful progression in Mario's moveset in Odyssey. As you said, you obtain Mario's full moveset right out of the gate, but the main capture gimmick is just sprinkled in throughout the story and used in circumstance for moons. You're just mastering that moveset over the time of your playthrough. While with Bananza, you're constantly incorporating different abilities or moveset options throughout the game. Each layer that you go to that unlocks a new Bananza has an entire skill tree section of new skills for you to hone and unlock, and it's spaced out perfectly to where you never feel like you're getting comfortable with one over the other. Not to mention the other moveset upgrades that are available to base DK.
I think it's close, but if I'm being honest, Odyssey takes this round. I do love the Bananzas in that game, but Cappy for me just puts Odyssey ahead for this round.
Alright, that was a rough loss last round. I gotta bounce back now with story. And obvious spoiler warning here for Donkey Kong Bananza. The game starts off with DK mining for bananas on Ingot Isle, when villain organization Voidco shows up to steal them all, slamming the island deep into the earth in the process. You go on to meet an odd rock, who later reveals itself to be Pauline, as she and DK go on an adventure through many layers of the earth to stop Voidco from stealing more Banandium gems from other layers, obtaining the Banandium root, and most specifically the head of the organization, Void Kong. Moreover, Pauline's character development is shown off more in Bananza, as she feels anxious to sing at first, but as she's around Donkey Kong and the Bananza elders, she gains confidence, and by the end of the game, she's looking for inspiration on a song to write, implying it's Jump Up Superstar leading into Odyssey. The best part of Bananza's story highlights one of the best executed plot twists I've seen in gaming, hands down. Build up throughout the game has Void Kong as the big bad, even with a crazy final battle against him. However, at the very last minute, King K. Rool shows up. This moment had me so damn hyped, and if you experienced this spoiler-free, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The first fight for the Banandium root at the planet core, the fake credits roll, then a bloodlusted K. Rool chasing you up to New Donk City, taking it over, and waiting for DK on top of City Hall is just a roller coaster of emotions in the best way possible, and I had an experience like no other while playing through it for the first time. Filled with moments that'll make you smile, laugh, get hyped, and even feel a little bittersweet by the end. I don't think Odyssey can hold a candle to what Bananza does.
While Super Mario Odyssey, for all intents and purposes, is just another damsel in distress story, the game frames the story in a unique way to create a theme of a globe-trotting adventure. After teaming up with Cappy, Mario travels from kingdom to kingdom in search of Bowser and Peach. Following the path of Bowser's corruption, we can see how he has strong-armed the locals of each of these kingdoms into giving him gifts for his wedding with Peach. Mario is tasked at each location to solve the problems Mario has inflicted. The adventure, the wedding, and the turmoil at each location work together in harmony to create a fairly standard Mario plot and transform it into something that feels fresh and exciting. Sure, is this story one that will leave you with tears in your eyes and garner analytic discussions? Not necessarily, but it's a story that uses fun, exciting themes to create a backdrop for the game itself. The story is the memories you make throughout the world. From the New Donk Festival to busting through the doors of a chapel on the moon, Mario Odyssey creates its story with iconic moments that you won't soon forget.
Odyssey's story is great in many ways. Heck, if we didn't get that game, we probably wouldn't have ever gotten Bananza. But I always get the feeling that, like you said, it's another damsel in distress story. While the idea of stealing Peach goes a step further with him now wanting her to marry him, we don't see the character development in Odyssey that we see in Bananza. Pauline's entire story arc is way more interesting to me than the whole wedding concept of Odyssey. And speaking of the wedding, it's executed way better in the Mario movie, which is laughable.
First of all, that is an insane thing for you to say. Secondly, I think you're overestimating Bananza's story entirely. If Super Mario Odyssey is just another damsel in distress story, Donkey Kong Bananza's story is just another MacGuffin story. The Banandium root is the driving cause of all the conflict in the story, from DK to Pauline to Void Kong and King K. Rool. They're all after the root and its ability to grant the holder a wish, a plot device that has been rehashed time after time after time. What makes it any different from the Triforce or the Master Ball? It's just another all-powerful item that grants the holder unlimited power. Doesn't sound that unique to me.
It's bold of you to bring up a plot point that has been rehashed time after time, as if Mario isn't famously known for being the knight in shining armor to save the damsel in distress. The story surrounding the Banandium root is much more complex than you describe. It's not so simple as the villain getting the all-powerful item, fighting the protagonist, losing, and the game ending. The main villain group that you're accustomed to seeing and fighting throughout the story turns out to not even be the biggest threat in the game. It's just a warm-up. The first King K. Rool fight alone is a showstopper, but it is taken to a whole new level when he seizes control of New Donk City. And when you finally defeat K. Rool, you're met with an incredible cutscene of Pauline asking Donkey Kong to stay in New Donk City with her so that she can fulfill her dream of singing for everyone, but then realizes he has a dream too, which funnily enough is finding more bananas. It's such a wholesome moment executed beautifully, and you're left with a huge smile on your face as the real credits roll. With all that in mind, I think Bananza takes this round handily.
Before the release of Super Mario Odyssey, the 3D Mario brand was starting to slip. Ever since the first game in 1996, each game since had become less and less open world and more streamlined with one finite goal at the end of each level. When Nintendo created Super Mario 64, they made that game in spite of the limitations the console had. They didn't have the power to create hundreds of levels like past 2D entries, so they created 15 levels with the depth of 100. As consoles grew more powerful, Nintendo could branch out and create more and more levels, with singular goals at the end. However, fans had still been clamoring for that sandbox collectathon experience from 2 decades ago. Then, in the fall of 2017, we got that experience. Super Mario Odyssey came onto the scene as a game not many of us thought we would see again. A 17-level adventure, each with a depth unheard of for a Mario game up until this point. The levels in this game vary in size, but some of them, such as the Sand Kingdom, are so vast that you can literally spend spend hours jumping between objectives and never once get bored. The playground nature of these levels is truly something that makes it stand out to its contemporaries. Even though I have 100%ed Odyssey, I still at times hop into the game just to jump around levels with no goal in sight. Just exploring New Donk City as Mario, jumping from building to building, is something you can't find in any other game. Each level is meticulously crafted to be a platforming paradise, one where the only limits to your exploration are your own abilities. However, it goes even further. In Odyssey, almost every kingdom has its own iconic capture. A capture is taught to you early on as a means of immersion, only to then challenge you and take the capture's abilities to the limits with extreme platforming challenges. The Uproot, Tropical Wiggler, Pokio all fit seamlessly into their environments, only to then turn around and be implemented in the level's challenges. The captures and kingdoms go hand in hand to create levels that feel unique, challenging, and expertly crafted for a game of this caliber.
Donkey Kong made a name for himself in 2D, spanning many games over his 40-plus year history, until 1999, when we were introduced to Donkey Kong 64, giving us a glimpse into 3D Donkey Kong for the very first time. Years later, fans seem to be divided on the game. On one hand, it's a cult classic that has fun elements of exploration and iconic rare humor, while on the other, it's a bit monotonous with a lot of backtracking and too many collectibles. And by too many, I mean 3,821. But past Donkey Kong 64, we don't get another 3D Donkey Kong game until April 2025's Nintendo Switch 2 Direct comes around, when we are introduced to the glorious Donkey Kong Bananza. We've never seen level design like this from Nintendo before. A massive sandbox level design where each layer can be destroyed and explored in every single way. Smashing everything to pieces isn't just a way to mindlessly button spam, it's practical, as you find Banandium gems and chests containing fossil and Banandium gem maps along the way. It works so well, and in hindsight, it is such a no-brainer for a Donkey Kong game to allow you to wreak havoc on your surroundings. It's definitely an acquired taste, but I love it and hold it highly in their history, despite it being a fairly new game still. Each layer has its own gimmick, and it spans wide in terms of what it could be. Some are Bananza based, some are skill tree based like the Turf Surf, where the resort layer is a beach, and some are even enemy based like the Rainbow Fish, where you take chunks from the rainbows they create to reach heights you couldn't previously. I loved going into each layer not knowing what was next. Big standouts are the vast echoey canyon layer, Dixie and Diddy Kong's racing layer featuring the Ramby Rumble racetrack, the Bathed in Light Radiance layer, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the final and grand layer of the Planet Core featuring the final boss fight with King K. Rool. At the same time, there is a sense of familiarity as you progress. Each layer will have Banandium gems that you expect, such as leading Fractones back to their mother, finding Fractones hidden in the terrain, or even challenge ruins. However, even if you see them coming, each layer puts a unique spin on it so that it stays fresh.
While I will give brownie points to Bananza for its unique level design as it pertains to terrain and destruction, it also at times feels like a punching simulator. The entire game almost feels like they saw what they created with the final Bowser sequence in Mario Odyssey and then created an entire game out of that concept. It's fun, but I also find myself getting bored more often than I would in Odyssey. Even finding Banandium gems and fossils at times feels monotonous, as I'm not exactly chasing an objective, but punching around blindly in hopes of finding them. There is a lot to do in these levels, but compared to Mario Odyssey's expansive scope of moons scattered throughout, I just can't in good conscience agree that it holds even a candle to Odyssey's level design.
I couldn't disagree more about you calling it a punching simulator. Fundamentally, it is a big part of the game, but I just see it differently. The game encourages all destruction and exploration, so it's natural to have collectibles be hidden underground randomly at some points. But it isn't exclusive. It's more of a bonus. Exploration is just as rewarding in Bananza as it is in Odyssey. It may seem clear-cut, but punching is Bananza's way of unraveling each and every layer to its fullest potential.
Both games have their merits and are understandably unique in their own ways. However, for this round, Super Mario Odyssey takes the point.
Moving on here to presentation, we'll be judging this category based on factors like the graphics, sound effects, menus, and other auxiliary components of the game. Without further ado, let's get into it. It goes without saying, but Bananza looks amazing. Almost every layer has incredible visuals and lighting, thanks to the upgraded hardware of the Switch 2. Every part of this game is so vibrant, they even make Ingot Isle look appealing. From the sandy beaches of the resort layer, the freezer layer glimmering with chilling beauty, or even the food-filled feast layer, this is just a pretty game from start to finish. It's undeniable that one of Bananza's best traits is your journey to the center of the earth. Punching down through and actively traveling to each new layer feels so immersive compared to the same copy-paste like cutscene that Odyssey has every time you arrive at a new kingdom. In my playthrough, I was always shocked each time I'd complete a layer and visit a new one, and the climax of the game, going all the way up to New Donk City with K. Rool taking over the city and fighting on top of City Hall, is one of my favorite moments in a Nintendo game, period. Bananza has the perfect blend of serious and signature goofy DK moments, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, DK's love for bananas is so crazy that multiple times throughout the game, you see Banandium gems in his eyes. Pauline is also a great addition to the adventure, funnily enough being the only fully voice-acted character. She starts off really anxious, just having been freed from the trap Void Kong puts her under as the odd rock, but slowly gains confidence thanks to her adventuring around with Donkey Kong. It's even a nice touch where when Pauline is looking for inspiration for a song to sing in New Donk when playing through the post-game, you end the 5 Elder Bananza rehearsals by obtaining the diva dress, sporting her iconic look from Odyssey, a moment that shows the character development throughout the game. She's grown into the fully fleshed out character we meet in Odyssey. Between Pauline and DK, there are a ton of wholesome moments between the two. For example, at Gateways Before Resting, which by the way has unique dialogue every time, or even Pauline asking DK if he wants to teleport to a different layer. Speaking of sound effects, you know I have to do it. There's nothing in Odyssey that compares to that. It just your brain's so good. And after hearing it honestly hundreds of times throughout my 100% playthrough, I haven't got sick of it once.
While being a return to form for the 3D Mario series, Super Mario Odyssey was also a deeply original game when it comes to its presentation. Firstly, the game centers around Mario traveling the globe in the Odyssey. This mode of transportation acts as the level select menu in this game, and works to build a layer of context and immersion not found in a Mario game since Galaxy 1. Inside, you can decorate and collect items throughout your adventure to show your experiences with the world. Then, the kingdoms in this game create some of the most unique and creative levels we've seen in a Mario game to date. Places like the Lost, Luncheon, and Ruined Kingdom are graphically the most fascinating locations Mario has ever traveled to. They help enhance the experience of a globe-trotting adventure by making Mario feel like a fish out of water in levels that he stylistically feels severely out of place in. The further you get in this game, the less like Mario levels these locations feel like, and they create a unique contrast from Mario that makes the levels stand out. On top of a creative menu system and unique level themes, the game does an excellent job stylistically communicating to the player what is and what isn't capturable. Anything that has a hat can't be captured, while anything that doesn't can. This simple system communicates to the player quietly how to approach the game without a bombardment of tutorial dialogue. When it comes to presentation, Odyssey uses every opportunity to make a statement, whether it is incepting information to the player through hats or just creating a moment stylistically. Odyssey does a great job presenting the game in a smart and well-designed manner.
I'm gonna say it, the Odyssey is overrated. It's similar to the Comet Observatory in terms of a level select hub, but without the explorative hub world like the aforementioned Comet Observatory or even Isle Delfino. There is hardly any building upon it, just a sail that later turns into a gold balloon upon more completion. How exciting. It's purely cosmetic, and considering Odyssey is the game title, I wish it evolved more throughout. I'll be unbiased here and say that the kingdoms are great. However, if I have one critique about them, it's that they all feel so disconnected. While most of them are a great experience to play through, it just feels too random. With Bananza, the worlds are intentional in a way thanks to the Bananzas, and nothing truly feels random until King K. rool is introduced into the story, which I'll allow because it's a net positive.
I will say the connected layers are a good point when it comes to Bananza. Each layer and sublayer having a corresponding number adds legitimacy and connectivity not found in Mario Odyssey. However, does Donkey Kong Bananza have a sail that turns into a balloon that takes DK up to the moon? Does Donkey Kong Bananza have a new Donk Festival calling back to the original DK arcade game? The answer to all of those is no. It does a great job at nostalgic DK country callback levels, but outside of that, the kingdoms in Odyssey are just so much more memorable. They feel part of an interconnected world in a way the layers don't, even though the layers are literally connected through tunnels. Super Mario Odyssey takes the presentation round. Mario Odyssey has 4 levels of collectibles that all work in tandem to give the player an ample choice of what objective they would like to chase. You have story moons as your main objective, auxiliary moons as high value optional objectives, purple coins as a limited lower value objective, and standard gold coins found in abundance throughout the game. These 4 can be found in any order, and each provides value to players in different ways. Unlike past 3D Mario games like 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, you can't traverse the levels in any order you want. You have to go from one kingdom to the next. However, with the 4 levels of collectibles, you instead have the choice of what objective you would want to go after. Do you just want to get to the next kingdom? Go after moons. If you want to save the kingdom from whatever threat they're experiencing, go after the story moons. If you're wanting some cool outfits or stickers, chase after some purple coins. In Super Mario Odyssey, the world is your oyster to explore at your own pace, and that is facilitated by the game's expertly crafted collectibles.
Like I said earlier, Donkey Kong 64 has a whopping 3,821 collectibles. Luckily, Bananza opts for a much more manageable number at 1,583. It introduces Banandium chips, fossils, and music discs, with Banandium gems as the main collectible. Bananas, or better known as Banandium gems, are such a fun main collectible and the obvious choice for this game. There's no sale on an Odyssey to grow here. Rather, when you've collected 5 Banandium gems, you unlock a point in your skill tree to level up one of the many skills in your arsenal. Taking advantage of fossils that you collect in each layer allows you to purchase clothing items from a shop in said layer. Donkey Kong has ties, pants, and fur color, while Pauline has full outfits. The really cool part about this is, unlike Odyssey, clothing options do have perks. Whether it's prolonged Bananza transformations, a higher likeliness of seeing music discs, or reducing damage from various obstacles thrown at you during the game, it is executed so well, and it really does help with your quality of life in your playthrough to 100%.
I'll give you credit where credit is due. Bananza's scope of collectibles is a big point in that game's favor. However, I will say I'm once again not a huge fan of cosmetics that have gameplay attributes. In Odyssey, I love just putting on a business suit in New Donk City or an explorer outfit in the Lost Kingdom. But in Bananza, I kind of have that Splatoon issue where I'm not picking my clothes based on looks, but rather on attributes. Because of this, I'm usually wearing some ridiculous combination just to get stats for where I am in the game.
Odyssey has great costumes for sure, but Bananza nails character customization to a point where it works specifically for the game. Moons have little meaning besides having a number increase on the Odyssey sale, and utilizing purple coins and coins to purchase costumes in the first place makes little to no sense when compared to the tangible value of Bananza's fossils. Banandium gems are the better version of moons, fossils are the better version of purple coins, and the costume and music discs add more value than anything Odyssey has to offer. Donkey Kong Bananza takes this point. Next up, side quests. These are essentially anything that isn't part of the main objective, but when complete, rewards you with a collectible. Bananza really shines here with a multitude of different, unique side level options for Banandium gems. Challenge ruins, where you're punching down enemies, destroying structures, or maneuvering around some challenging courses. The Bananzas are utilized quite well here, as some levels have you in one Bananza the entire time, or sometimes even multiple are required to find all the Bananzas in a level. But all of that is not as good as the Donkey Kong Country levels. I mean, what a treat. These are so damn fun and such a nice nod to the games that came before. It genuinely puts a smile on my face when playing through these. Nostalgia done right in video games is about capturing the essence of what makes the originals great, and Bananza nails that perfectly.
As for Odyssey, this game is basically a game of side quests. While the story moons and main objectives are fun, they're also completely optional. The real meat and potatoes of this this game are the optional moons along the way to help you power the Odyssey. These come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, from challenge doors to pipes to mannequins. Basically, every kingdom is littered throughout with platforming, puzzle, and precision challenges available for the player to complete. Some challenges have Mario platforming without the help of Cappy. Some have Mario trying to walk in a perfect circle in the ground, and others ask you to screenshot an image and travel to that location in the world. All throughout the game, there is some new challenge ready for you to take on. Almost all challenge rooms also include a secret second moon incentivizing exploration in these one-off challenge rooms. The game squeezes every last inch of content out of all of its levels to help fill out that 880 moon count.
But that's the issue. Simply put, there are too many moons in Odyssey. Too many feel identical. Whether it's the glowing spot moons, rumble-based moons, hint art clues, or even the strange repeating nut moons. By comparison, Bananza has a great mix of randomness and intentionality with Banandium gems, where you can find them by digging through a mountain out of nowhere or helping an NPC in exchange for a banana. Odyssey confuses quality with quantity by flooding you with odd side quests to up the moon count. However, Bananza implements this much better. The Donkey Kong Country levels are a big highlight for old and new fans of the series. The Bananza-focused challenge rooms are clever in their own ways, and the battle challenges are a great way to let loose as DK and wreak havoc upon the enemies standing in your way. Bananza takes this round.
Usually when we talk about gimmicks in video games, we're usually talking about how it hinders the game. In most circumstances, they're overbearing and actively take away from the game at hand. Cappy and the capture mechanic isn't a gimmick that takes away, but adds to Odyssey in a way past gimmicks couldn't. Firstly, the capture mechanic changes the way you even approach the game. Almost every enemy in the game can be captured, each with a unique moveset and habitat that feels extremely natural. So many past enemies are playable in this game, and are utilized in platforming challenges you would have never expected. A simple enemy like the Bullet Bill is used brilliantly throughout the Sand Kingdom to help Mario traverse around hard-to-reach platforms. A use for the Bullet Bill I would have never expected in past games. The Cheep Cheep, a standard, almost boring enemy from past Mario water levels, can be captured and offer a better swim moveset that is faster and allows Mario to breathe underwater. These old enemies are utilized to create an experience that feels fresh, innovative, and in a weird way, inevitable. On top of that, many new enemies and NPCs have very unique movesets that allow for fun challenges throughout your adventure. Whether it be the bounding races with the Chivarians or the water spraying with the Gushins in the Seaside Kingdom, these new characters let Mario move in brand new, unexpected ways. The captures in this game act as power-ups to change the way you approach the game. Gone are the days of random power-ups there to spice up levels. Each enemy in this game is also a power-up that naturally fits in with each kingdom. The capture mechanic isn't just a gimmick created to sell copies. It's a gimmick that feels well fleshed out and researched. Every NPC fits perfectly in their environment to be used as a capture, and once captured, those characters feel like they naturally evolve to be traversing those environments. I can't think of a way to make a gimmick feel any more necessary.
For his entire series prior to Bananza, Donkey Kong was very cut and dry. While the country games are amazing platformers and a trailblazer of gaming alone, you know what's coming when you boot the games up for the most part. Coming to Bananza, however, it gives DK the much needed shakeup in a way we didn't expect. The most glaring addition, of course, are the Bananzas. Whether you're causing chaos as the powerful Kong, charge dashing across crumbling paths as the zebra, gliding from high heights as the ostrich, inhaling terrain around you as the elephant, or jumping to peaks you couldn't imagine as the snake, the possibilities are limitless, and in conjunction, it expands Donkey Kong's moveset in a way I didn't see coming, but love so much. Implementing a skill tree not only takes advantage of upgrading the Bananzas, but your overall moveset and stats as well. Going from movement options such as introducing DK's up special from Smash Bros into a Donkey Kong game, to increasing your HP, number of apple and melon juice you can hold, or even the better their sonar upgrade, which allows you to detect hidden items through solid objects, is super useful. And lastly, it goes without saying that I can't forget to bring up how Donkey Kong can now break everything. Yes, I mean everything. From a fun 2D platformer to a character who truly takes advantage of his brawly physique, it is so addicting to turn your brain off and just destroy anything in front of you. Fortunately, if you go too crazy, you can reset the terrain from the menu, which is really useful if needed. It is unbelievable that they were able to pull this off, as we've never seen anything like it in a Nintendo game before, showing why this game needed to be a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. Bananza's focus on utter destruction is so well implemented that even doing that can reward you with collectibles in the process. You can find gold and even treasure chests that contain more gold, as well as Banandium gem or fossil maps, giving you hints on where you can find them. Bananza goes above and beyond, reframing Donkey Kong as a character and giving him that much needed overhaul.
While I agree Bananza's gimmicks can be fun, that's what they feel like. Gimmicks. Every addition to this game feels slightly ham-fisted to create an environment for which the player can find a shred of novelty. The Bananzas are fun, yet feel like arbitrary abilities unlocked throughout the game to add to DK's moveset. The skill tree, once again, comes off as a lazy way to add progression to a game that desperately needs the Banandium gems to mean something at all. And of course, the world destruction, while being fun and the main reason the game exists in the first place, comes off almost feeling unnatural. Tell me how in the world are all of these NPCs okay with DK just destroying their entire world? I, for one, would be pretty upset if a random 800-pound gorilla fell from the sky and started destroying my world. Sure, as the player, you can reset it, but going into a menu to do that just feels so unnatural. Mario and Cappy have a symbiotic relationship that visually makes sense. Whenever you uncapture an enemy, they become dizzy and unconscious for a second. When you destroy the world as Donkey Kong, nobody cares. It's fun, but it's weird.
Desperately need the Banandium gems to mean something? At least they do mean something and add to the skill tree, unlike the moons, which just help the Odyssey's sail grow. Ooh, big number.
What are you even saying? Of course the moons mean something. They power the Odyssey and let you progress to the next level like any normal 3D collectathon. The Banandium gems aren't even required to beat Bananza. They're literally just there to add progression through the skill tree. Anyways, I think we're getting a little sidetracked here. The capture mechanic in Cappy himself clears anything Bananza puts up. Odyssey takes this round.
I'm gonna come out guns a-blazing here, but Void Coat wipes the Brutals. The fights in Bananza as a whole are just way better. In all honesty, I had to look up the Brutals boss fights on YouTube to remind myself of them. That's how forgettable they are. While in Bananza, the Void Coat boss fights are so hype, engaging, and honestly one of my personal favorite parts of the game. Specifically, the final Void Kong fight really stands out to me, where you have to chase him across the Forbidden Layer and avoid everything he's throwing at you. Most bosses in the game utilize one of your Bananzas and sometimes multiple, but who could require multiple Bananzas to beat none other than the GOAT King K. Rool? A shock reveal, bringing back a fan favorite villain character back into a Donkey Kong game for the first time in almost 18 years, leading to some banger endgame fights. The fight for the Banandium root at the planet core is just peak. I just knew it was going to be good after seeing him wait ominously for DK and Pauline to approach, but it just exceeded any expectation I had prior. It gets even crazier as soon as you fight him once again in New Donk City on top of City Hall. Just an incredible moment in gaming. Don't get me wrong, Odyssey is a great game and has great moments in its boss fights too, but Bananza just takes the cake quite easily here.
The way Mario Odyssey handles boss fights is quite interesting. In the game, almost every boss is connected to a certain capture that you've been practicing throughout the level. In the Sand Kingdom, that's the Bullet Bill. In the Wooded Kingdom, that's the Uproot, and so on and so forth. I think the way Odyssey approaches this is extremely smart, as it basically prepares you for the fight ahead as you're progressing through the level. You don't have to learn some new move or mechanic each time you fight a new boss, and you get to show off your skills you've acquired throughout. Many bosses in this game are completely optional. Fighting them gives you a triple story moon that makes progressing to the next kingdom much easier. However, they aren't necessary, as you can get the moons somewhere else. This level of freedom and flexibility quality hasn't been seen since Mario 64, and I really think it was a nice touch for this game. Then, if we're going to talk about bosses, I need to bring up if they're fun or not, and the short answer is duh. The Bowser fight is a super fun and unique one that incorporates hats in a fun way. The Ruined Kingdom Dragon is the most visually stunning boss in a Mario game to date, while also being one of the best movement-based bosses in the game. And the brutal mech fight is the best boss in the game, incorporating one of the best captures, tricky platforming, and a challenging objective that creates a spectacular conclusion to the Bowser Kingdom. There really isn't a bad boss in this game, and even if there was, you could probably just skip it. So in all honesty, I'd be shocked if Odyssey didn't win this round.
First off, no. Odyssey's bosses aren't bad, but they just feel underwhelming. I understand Cappy is Mario's main companion, but it just leans too much on the hat boss concept. Odyssey's bosses often feel one-dimensional. You're using the same mechanic the entire time. Cappy is great, but the Bananzas as a whole just offer more depth in the boss fights. A lot of the time in Odyssey, you're limited to just an arena, but with Voidco and even mini-bosses, you have free reign, utilizing the game's breakable environment as well as different Bananzas to avoid the various projectiles thrown in your direction.
I do like how Bananza utilizes the entire layer for some bosses, but I disagree with your take that the Bananzas create more depth in some boss fights. Sure, you have to choose which one to use instead of just utilizing Cappy during a boss fight, but I'm just a little confused how that makes these bosses better than Odyssey.
It's not just about choosing which one to use. It's like a puzzle integrated into a fight. In a game where one of the main gameplay gimmicks is destroying everything, it's a perfect idea. Grumpy, Poppy, and Void Kong are downright better boss fights than anything Odyssey brings to the table. All of them require different strategies or Bananzas depending on when you meet them throughout the story, offering a sense of originality in fights when you meet them again. For example, the first time you meet Grumpy Kong in the canyon lair, you use the Kong Bananza to break apart his body made of rock, while for the second time in the Radiance lair, you inhale his armor using the elephant. Bananza jumps at the opportunity to make every boss fight unique. You never know what's coming, and that's what helps it pull away from Odyssey. Oh, and when you said you'd be shocked if you didn't win this round, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but Bananza takes this by far. Donkey Kong and music are like, well, Donkey Kong and bananas. No, but seriously, the DK rap is so goofy, yet iconic that ever since then, the two are synonymous. Pauline's introduction into Bananza just emphasizes that point even further, with her having powers coming from singing. However, the essence of why Bananza's soundtrack is so good isn't just the sound of the past, it is directly baked into the experience. The moment you break down the wall into Ingot Isle, there's a subtle hint of bongo drums that remind you who the main character is in case you forgot. That small cue takes you back in time for a second to the Donkey Kong Country games of old, connecting the game to its roots while also setting the tone for something new and fresh. For instance, the Gangplank Galleon remix is an absolute banger, coming after we get the fake ending to the game and really setting the tone for an epic scene where K. Rool chases Donkey Kong and Pauline up to New Donk City. Not only does Bananza's soundtrack thrive in nostalgia, but the new tracks do so as well. The Zebra Bananza theme stands out above the others. It's just so damn catchy. Donkey Kong Bananza isn't carried by its soundtrack. Rather, they go hand in hand. They enhance each other to the highest degree to create a gaming experience you will never forget.
The soundtrack of a video game can either be an overlooked aspect that nobody really acknowledges or the key factor in making a game an instant classic. Background tracks meant to be ignored can stand out and create core memories that transport you back in time to the first time you played the game. Music has the ability to turn experiences into memories. That's why, while I believe Bananza does a great job with music, even being a major theme in the plot of the game, Super Mario Odyssey's tracks are just a step above Bananza in a way it will never reach. The Cascade Kingdom ushers in the start of the adventure with a bold, energizing song that invigorates you to begin your journey. Steam Gardens is a grand, massive arrangement that has a layer of familiarity and excitement as you finally get accustomed to the world at hand. Jump Up Superstar is a blast of joy as you reach the halfway mark of the game. You still got a lot to go, but you've already come so far. It's a celebration of what's to come as well as where you've been. Then, at the end of the game, as you're escaping Honeyloon Ridge, you're rewarded with one final voiced song as you smash blocks as Bowser and beat the game. Every song in this game fits so well with the environment, while never ending up feeling forgettable. Listening back to these songs, I'm just filled with so much joy, and I can't help but recall all the memories I have with this game.
I can't argue Jump Up Superstar's impact. I mean, the post-game of Bananza implies that Pauline is looking for inspiration for a song to sing in New Donk City. However, Bananza isn't dead in the water here. It has an emphasis on music that I'd argue is more purposeful than Odyssey. Tracks like Breaking Through roll through the credits and capture the story of Pauline's adventure while taking you on a roller coaster of emotions in the process. Starting from a feeling of isolation when she's the odd rock, no thanks to Void Kong, later meeting Donkey Kong, and thanks to their growing bond, she evolves into a confident character by the end. It is the perfect song to cap off the game. Whether it's Pauline's charming Bananza songs, K. Rool's boss music to get you hyped, or the heartwarming aforementioned Breaking Through, music is the defining element of all great moments throughout Bananza.
You make a solid point there. It's tough going against Bananza, a game specifically designed with music as the main theme of the game. However, I think the fact that this is the main theme of Bananza almost gets in the way of some of these songs. I like the fact that Pauline is completely voice acted, and she sings in multiple songs. But does that make these songs any better? I'm not so sure. Many of these songs, specifically the Bananza concert ones, are unfortunately fairly forgettable or annoying, and I'm not sure which one is worse. I'll give you credit that I do think Bananza's highs are higher. However, Odyssey's music is just consistently so much stronger. I can't think of a kingdom theme that I don't like from Odyssey, while there are plenty of layer themes from Bananza that I find lackluster. I'm sorry, but Odyssey wins the soundtrack round. In my 23 years on this planet, I have played over 500 video games. In my time playing these games, there have been many moments that have given me joy and left me with a feeling of absolute awe. Out of all of those moments, one stands out as my greatest gaming moment. I beat Super Mario Odyssey, and I sat there, watching the credits, listening to the soundtrack, and admiring the game I had just played. The credits concluded, and I stood up to get my Switch and put it away, only to see, with my two eyes, the Mushroom Kingdom in its full glory. This is without a doubt the greatest surprise I have ever experienced in a Mario game. Seeing the kingdom and the castle in its full glory is something I will never forget. Not only was it a nice little post-game treat to see and run around this place, the Mushroom Kingdom is packed with post-game content. There are countless 64 references, from the moons being turned into stars, Yoshi being capturable on top of the castle, and Peach's garden being fully transformed into 64-bit graphics. This level is a beautiful callback, but it's also a perfect playground for Mario to explore. Beyond the Mushroom Kingdom, Odyssey also has the dark and darker side of the moon. These levels hold the Brutal's boss rush and Long Journey's End, this game's final gauntlet level. Both of these are incredible final challenges that feel like a culmination of everything the game has to offer. They bring a second level finality to the adventure, almost like a full second ending to the entire game. And if you're feeling even more psychotic, you can collect 999 moons to put a hat on Peach's castle, metaphorically and physically, to 100% this game. Mario Odyssey has so much post-game content that it far exceeds the actual content in the pre-ending game. Each kingdom gets an influx of post-game moons to expand this game's replayability. There's a stopping point for every type of player. No matter how you play Mario, Odyssey has something in the post-game for you.
Donkey Kong Bananza has an incredible ending, with Donkey Kong and Pauline on the rooftops of New Donk City, figuring out what to do next. Pauline opts to stay in New Donk to continue her dream to sing in front of the entire world, while DK goes back down to Ingot Isle to continue his dream of finding more bananas. As soon as the credits finish rolling, you jump right back into action, as you get a repeat scene of DK breaking down the wall into the Ingot Isle cave-in, same as back when you started your adventure. This time though, you're without Pauline. You're limited in what you can do and what you can collect, because you don't don't have the Bananza powers. Luckily, thanks to a reformed Voidco, Grumpy Kong builds a warp gong, and Pauline comes back down to Ingot Isle. She's tasked to perform at New Donk City Hall. However, she doesn't have a song to perform. In order to unlock the secret ending and 100% the game, you need to backtrack to the 5 elders and complete all of their Bananza rehearsals, requiring 600 Banandium gems to access them all. Some Banandium gems are barred until the postgame. Fortunately now, everything is obtainable. Ingot Isle is now fully accessible as there are many fossils and bananas to collect. Besides hunting for collectibles in the postgame, Grumpy Kong has started a few projects across the various layers. Notably, Ingot Isle has 3 different projects: a battle rush, boss rush, and the full Baboom Town restoration project, which turns out to be a massive gold statue of DK. Though, be prepared to part ways with your gold, as unlocking all of the above costs a whopping 135,000. The battle rush is super fun, just bashing the heads in of all of the enemies you meet throughout the game in a time blitz style mode, and a boss rush mode is a must-have part of a good 3D platformer post-game, and I thoroughly enjoyed revisiting them all. All of that to say, that isn't even the best part of this incredible post-game. When you complete all 5 of the Elder Bananza rehearsals, you unlock a costume for Pauline called the Diva Dress, which sports her signature look from Super Mario Odyssey. This straight up put a smile on my face when I saw it for the first time, tying together the start of her character development from the start of Bananza to the endpoint in New Donk City's festival in Odyssey. When you complete all 5 of the Elder challenges and revisit the planet core where you first fight King K. Rool, you make a wish to the Banandium route and are met with this postcard where Pauline is singing in New Donk City with Donkey Kong in attendance. Such a nice touch to cap off an amazing game.
I love all the references Donkey Kong Bonanza has to Mario Odyssey. It really is such a nice callback to such a superior game.
Low blow, man.
Jokes aside, I think both these games do have great post-games. However, when it comes down to it, we've got to look objectively at what both of these games offer as additional content and rate them accordingly. Which game gives the player more reason to boot the game back up after the end credits? If we look at the resumes side by side, Odyssey just has more to do than Bananza. After beating Odyssey, you get a brand new level based on Mario's home kingdom, a Brutal's boss rush, 7 boss rematches, a final gauntlet level, and a massive influx of additional post-game moons added to each kingdom. There is literally more to do in the post-game of Mario Odyssey than what there was to do before you beat the game. I think it's clear that Odyssey has the better post-game.
Listen, I know you're 1 point away from winning, but you won't get this point easily. Odyssey may have more content, but Bananza's is much more meaningful. It's more so a continuation of the story, rather than a love letter to a past, more impactful, and overall better game in Super Mario 64. In Bananza, you revisit past layers and take on brand new challenge levels thanks to the Elder Bananza rehearsals, while narratively, Pauline is slowly but surely finding inspiration for a song that she'll sing in New Donk. All of the rehearsals aren't just random challenge levels to up the banana count. They perfectly blend difficult gameplay with story development. Bananza's postgame enhances the core gameplay loop of the base game, while fully fleshing out the storylines of the main characters that we've grown to love throughout the game.
Which post-game is more fun? I think it's clear Bananza is cute and all and has great callbacks, but when it comes down to it, Mario Odyssey's post-game challenges are just better. Does Donkey Kong Bonanza have any post-game layers? Can you explore New Donk City? Is there any new place to run around after you beat the game? Ingot Isle, sort of, but technically, that's just the first level. It's no different than returning to the Cap Kingdom after beating Odyssey. Donkey Kong Bonanza has a great post-game with a narratively compelling ending. However, does that game have 3 brand new post-game levels to explore? And even if we did bring up the DK Island DLC, that level, while visually stunning and a fair comparison to Mushroom Kingdom at a glance, has no objectives to be found. Super Mario Odyssey just outperforms Donkey Kong Bonanza in this category. You put up a valiant effort, but Super Mario Odyssey is just the superior 3D platformer.
Alright, I can't deny it. Mario is just the king of platformers, period. Without Odyssey, we wouldn't have gotten Bananza. I think the score was closer than even you thought, but I think with its charm, unique elements of exploration, world building, and story, Donkey Kong Bonanza proved that it could hold its own versus Super Mario Odyssey.
I agree. Anyways, thanks for watching episode 5 of Head to Head. If you enjoy this series and specifically this new format, let us know in the comments below, and also let us know if you think we got this right. I think we got it right, don't you, PJ? I think Odyssey is a great game and I think it deserved to win.
I think you rigged it again.
There's no way I rigged it, you were here this time. Anyways, we'll be sure to be active in the comments after this video, so let us know your thoughts. Until next time, this is Mac from the Switch Stop.
And PJ from the Switch Stop.
And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.